Good afternoon, everyone.
Hello.
Everyone's on. We are on and ready to go. Ray will be joining us in a moment, but thank you all for being here. That's fine. Yeah. This is a working art show, so
He's going to put on his gold cowboy boots.
oh, good. Good. So this is, thank you all for being here. And how many of you were here last week? A lot of you. So how many of you, I just have to say this, how many of you got the email that we sent out this week? So, we were very blessed here to have, Josh Hurt be part of our celebration of fine art. He brought amazing energy and passion and kindness throughout the tent to everyone. And we are very deeply saddened to share that he has been replaced. No, go away. We lost Josh this past week. So we are celebrating his life. And we're super, super grateful that we were able to capture him on our video last week and to share him with all of you. And I just wanted to share those words. Did you want to say anything? Okay. Because we are here.
Yeah, thank you all for coming here. We appreciate it. Yeah, it's been a very emotional week, and but Josh was super positive. Anyone who met him loved him. I knew him for probably a decade, and we were good friends. And he'll be missed. But his energy, it's amazing. This is why I love this tent. This is why I love these people. You take loss, you take tragedy, you take that brokenness and you turn it into something positive. You turn it into action. The tent has jumped in. So many wonderful people, started Venmos, started charities, started silent auctions, bought his work. My buddy Eric is like, hey, let me finish some of his metal frames so we can get them on the wall. Just everyone just jumped in. We're honored to be here. Shannon and I we were freshmen together here. And
now Jerry's a freshman.
Yeah, Jerry. Yeah. So
Josh was.
Yeah. And yeah, and the freshman class this year was off the charts, man. Yeah, off the charts. So yeah, we're blessed. We're lucky. And thank you for having us. Thank you. Yeah.
And you're responsible for getting Josh here. And I thank you for that. And as Ray mentioned, the artists, this is a community of people who love each other and support each other and love the collectors and they love each other. And so we've put together rather quickly a beautiful silent auction. We're assembling walls and bidding sheets right now that will benefit Josh's beautiful wife, Alex, who actually joined us up here last week and asked the question, and they were a match made in heaven, those two. It was quite inspirational and lovely. So we're going to celebrate Josh's life by continuing on and bringing beauty to the world. And I'm going to jump in and share this beautiful panel with you today. So thank you. So for the first time, celebration of fine art artist freshman Jerry Salinas. Yep.
Hello.
And the most beautiful Shannon Lee. Yes. And right next to me, in case you didn't know, this is Ray Tigerman. Yep. And Ray joined us earlier on a panel about collecting, and lots of passion for that as well. So this is about the new Old West and the passion that these three and many others share about wanting to continue to bring the West to life. And these three in particular do so by bringing it in a lot of color and a lot of fun. So I'm just going to start and have you go from Jerry on down the way. How long have you been painting, and why is it so important to you to be an artist?
I've been painting quite a few years, probably around 25 years, off and on. I was an illustrator in Chicago for years, but seriously, as a fine artist, probably for 5 years. And why I paint, it's simple for me. I want to tell a story and I want to express myself, and it's a lot of fun. I mean, that's probably it's the simplest explanation. It's just fun. When you do over 20 years of commercial work, it's not fun after a while. It's profitable, but it's not fun. And when I discovered I wanted to be an artist with fine art and paint and oils, that's when the fun started with my art career.
And every time I see you, you are smiling and you're making others smile, which is great.
Yes, I try. It's a fun place. This place has been great for me. I think my art has improved and changed. Just meeting the people and the resources that I got from here is great. Like where to get canvases, our frames, and especially the artists. Every artist helps out. Even though we're here all selling and we're competitive, we still help each other out. Shannon gives me advice, Ray gives me advice, everybody, Matt Severs, and everybody's great. So I like to thank them all the artists.
Very good. Thank you. And he got Jake. Yeah, his are right behind him, and Shannon's are in the middle, and Ray is behind him. So we try to line them up. That doesn't always work, but and Jerry actually got Jake to sit for about 40 minutes and did a live portrait of him a few weeks ago, which was pretty
has
awesome.
never happened.
Yeah.
That right there is the only time you'll see Jake not in perpetual motion. So that was like a superpower of Jerry's.
Yes.
Yeah.
Jake's a beautiful man.
Yes. I agree.
He's a beautiful man.
He's going to start throwing things at us.
Hey,
Jake.
Jake. Jake.
He's my husband, in case you didn't know that. I kind of like him. Okay, Shannon, take it away, girl.
Hi, everybody. It's so wonderful to be up here sitting on this stage with Ray Tigerman, who I started with 4 years ago. It's our senior year.
Hold this closer.
Can you all hear me? Senior year. It's our senior year, and our new little brother, who just started his freshman year, is one heck of a painter. Look at this work.
Thank you.
I'm humbled to be sitting with you. So I started painting 50 years ago when I was 10 years old, and I won my first award with my first painting, and it was a basket of flowers. I was in 3rd grade, and that's what happened. And the reason why I'm a painter is because I'm really bad at golf.
Well, we're glad that you're bad at golf, because look what you do for us. I love it. 10 years old. I love it. All right, my friend.
Yeah, professionally, I don't know, 20 something. My earliest childhood memories were painting, drawing. We found a plate when my mother had passed, from when I was like 5 years old. And it was one of those plates that you would do when you were children. You would do like the little markers, and it was kind of like a cautionary tale, really, of things to come. And it was clearly like an alien ship. It was Easter, apparently, because there's Easter bunnies rappelling down, and the eggs were grenades. And yeah, it was crazy. I was like, yeah, explains a lot, Yeah, and why I paint, it's like I've had so many different elements in my career, from being a business owner, representing artists. And I think when you're a creative individual, you have a need to express yourself. I'm a musician too. And honestly, I'm always in a state of discontentment if I'm not doing something creatively, if I am not pushing myself, if I am not playing music, if I am not painting, if I'm not trying sculpting. And I know Shannon was being funny, but I want to hear why you do what you do, Shannon. Come on, what do you do? Tell us. Come on, tell us. There's more to it. Yeah.
I want to still be funny. So I've had a career that has been kind of vast in art. It did start very young. I graduated as Artist of the Year from high school. I just kept at it. It was a passion, and it never ended. It was as if it chose me. I didn't have a choice to do it. I traveled a lot. after high school, I went to graphic design school for my first years of college. I got my AA. Then I came down here to ASU to the ceramics department. I paid my way for my first year of ceramic school, crab fishing in Alaska, and I'm not kidding. My next year, dues
You could
came
stop
for
right there.
college.
That's why you paint. You crab fish in Alaska. You're good. Yeah. You know what? I knew we would get it
Anything
out
else,
of you.
Ray?
Yeah. Jesus, you want to break for a smoke? God, bourbon.
It's been nothing but a
Crab
smoke break.
fishing in Alaska. My God, awesome.
Do you,
And
do you
you
eat
didn't know that.
crabs?
You didn't know that. I know. And
Many layers
most
to you,
people
woman.
don't. It's going to be a long book and a lot of chapters. I was ready to go to that fourth year, get that degree, and I wasn't going back to Alaska. So I went and started an art business instead in Seattle. I started a production art company, and I was represented from a company in Seattle to a lot of furniture groups like Broyhill, Lazy Boys, Spiegel Catalog, all of these things. They were carrying my artwork that I designed in Seattle, and I had a production crew that made this artwork for me. And as I started to do this and was represented at High Point, North Carolina every year, I had a name. My name was Memphis. That was what I went as. I was always Hollywood. So I had this name. They called me Memphis, and I wore these red cowboy boots. And now here at the tent, I wear this black hat. So there's a song that stays the same. But I started doing original work, and then all of a sudden my original work was in Roche-Beaubois, and I had bigger showrooms that were selling my original work, and then I was doing nothing but commission work. So that's the start.
Very good. Who knew? You're very diverse. So, but most importantly, this is about the New Old West. So what is it about the West, the history that's important for you to share? And as I mentioned in the introduction, all of you, you're not shy of color. So what we're seeing is your interpretation of the West, both the figures, the subjects, but why these vibrant colors? And we're going to start with you, Jerry.
When I started painting the West, I mean, there's a reason why. Part of it is, and I've said it in other podcasts and interviews, but being from the Chicago area, when I moved here, I was still painting urban scenes, Paris, Florence, cityscapes. And I realized I don't live there. I live here. And I saw a quote by Andrew Wyeth that he told Jamie, I guess. He says, if paint where you live. So I live in Phoenix, and I got to know ranchers and cowboys and Native Americans. And so I started seeing the Native American culture. And what helped me get into that was also looking at the old photos by Curtis and Gilpin. And I still paint those today. And what also pushed me was getting a mentor who didn't paint like all the other cowboy artists or Western artists that you see, and that's Rosita Santiago. And I looked for someone different, and she's the one that said, and she told me, you got to be different. There's no more brown. Don't do brown and gray. It's the past. It's time to move up and push the color and be designy. And I hope I'm doing that. And so that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for something different. I love what's been done in the past with Western artwork. It's an inspiration, but you got to be different. If you're going to be an artist who grows and who's creative, you got to be different than the past. You could take from it, but you have to show that you're being more creative than that. And these two people here have inspired me, because even though this is my first year, I would come around here and I would see their work, and I'm like, wow, okay, they're doing it. They're doing something different. And that's what was nice, being inspired not only by them and other people, but that's what kind of got the ball rolling for me to get away from three natives on a horse or a cowboy and a cow. Let me do something a little different that hasn't been done. And not to say that I'm there already, and I think I'm still developing it, but as time comes, you're going to see some new designs and new work from me.
That's awesome. And you have in addition to your beautiful bold pieces here, some treasures of little sketches. And I love the way you use color to outline.
Yeah,
You don't have one of those up here.
like I said, I'm looking for the new, but that's also looking at the new artists today, and you kind of see what they're doing. I'm an older guy, so I look at what the younger artists are doing and how could I take from that. And the reason why you do that is because of some of the past, the Western artists from way in the past were doing that, like Dixon did it, and one artist I can't remember his name, but he's in the La Fonda Hotel in New Mexico. And you would see him outline, and the illustrators did that. Being an illustrator, I'm inspired by that. And it's just a design element to highlight where you want the eye to be. But will I keep it? I don't know, but I like doing it,
Awesome.
Hi.
Hi, Shannon. I mean, you have El Jefe. Oh, we have to bring the Kathy Sheeter painting of you up here at some point before this ends.
Oh, yeah.
But one of the things that I love about Shannon is Cowgirls. And I was asking, what do you want to bring up there? And I was pointing something, and she had this on her easel, and she said, I'm going to finish this before the talk because I want to bring this up. But
It's not finished.
she does awesome cowgirls, and we used one image in a couple of different ads of a
Oh,
beautiful cowgirl with
yeah.
blonde braids, kind of look like Shannon. But
Thank you.
how do you
thank
like
you, Susan.
what drives you to choose subjects like this, and talk a little bit about your techniques?
Jerry, I loved what you said. That was really fun to hear that you've garnered so much since you've been first year. And the way you paint is magnificent. It's expert. You're a master of your craft. And I think that's kind of where I want to start on this, is that everybody in this tent is a master of their craft. The second component is the creativity. You have to have that match up with what you're able to put out of your brush. Ray's done it divinely. So proud to be up here with you. Oh my
Me
God.
too. Come on.
So how do we come up with that? Where does that creativity come from? Who's that person that's talking and that's making three people that paint contemporary Western art so diversified from each other behind us, right? Who are you and where did it come from? I think you really have to tell your own story. You have to talk about where you came from, what you grew up with, what your background was, what your experience was. For me, I was born in Spokane, Washington, raised in Missoula, Montana, and raised in Mesa, Arizona. When we left Missoula, Montana, we opened a country bar in Mesa, and we're members of the country club. So there's a whole lot of country in my life. That brought in a lot of ideas of the cars. Of course, I was riding horses in Montana. We had them. And my later life, I was 23 years in Tennessee, and I had a horse farm. So I was very involved in all of that. But I knew one day I'd come home. My family's here. My brother and my mother live in Chandler. And I painted my way back. So it's the story of all the things that I experienced in my life that I now don't have to paint for furniture showrooms. I'm not painting for these other things. I took the plunge. I'm painting for myself and hoping to connect with you.
And that you do, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
Clap for
absolutely.
that. Yeah. I mean, that
Oh, come on. Let's have a clap
Yeah.
for that. Yeah. There we go.
had to have been sort of a bold move, because it could have been really easy just to stay painting for Roche-Bobois and doing the reproductions. But you had that drive.
Yeah.
And part of that, I know you had the experience in the horse business, but painting was always with you.
It always has been. Well, it's not just painting, it's any creative endeavor, whether it's in the kitchen or whether I was even making lampwork glass beads in the garage. I was silversmithing. Everything. I think that when you have it, you just go for it. Yeah.
Well, a few panels ago, somebody said that the safest place for artists, the best way to keep the world safe is to let artists create, because the need is there. And if you're not creating,
That's it. So
you're not
That's
living.
so true. That's
Yeah.
so true.
So
Don't let us loose without creating.
Yeah, true. Um, those are really, those are good answers. They're very, interesting. Um, yeah, Jerry, I like that. I like that, what you said. That's cool. It's like a exploration. I think, you know, to answer that question, I was really lucky to have grown up in Northern Nevada, Gardnerville, Minden in particular. I didn't realize it at the time. We had moved from Southern California. I was really, really young. Don't remember much about it, but I remember the, the difference, the dichotomy between busy as a kid and then isolated. And there was always a sense of isolation, a sense of bigness, a sense of vastness that the West encompasses and encapsulates. And I think when you grow up in that environment, you kind of can't help but have some of those ideals instilled in you. Yeah, and I was fortunate to grown up in basically like a rodeo type of environment. My uncle had a huge cattle ranch in Elko. I would get shipped off in the summers when I was old enough. Some of my fondest memories are with my grandparents. They were hunters and fishing people, and so I kind of grew up around horses and the Western life, and it always interested me. And I think, being an artist when you're younger or older, you go through this, cycle of finding yourself. Like, what is your unique voice that you can capture on the canvas and then you can share with individuals who will appreciate that and love it, take it home, and have it in their spaces. And yeah, like you go through different things. I went to college and I was kind of obsessed with abstract work. And when I got out of college, I immediately kind of started opening up galleries, and I was doing contract work, things like that. But what I would always do for me were these little tiny figures, these little Native American figures that always brought me joy, and I would actually give them away as gifts because where my businesses was Nashville, Tennessee.
This is
Yeah,
crazy.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
Ray and I not only, I'm sorry to interrupt.
No, you're not.
Ray and I not only started the first year together, but we both came from the same place.
Yeah, Jesus. Yeah. Actually, let's be honest. They ran us out of there.
Yeah,
They were
we
like,
did. We did.
And you didn't
yeah.
know each other back then.
And
Then.
we didn't know each other.
We knew
back then,
we
no.
know like some of the same people. It's
Yeah.
it's ridiculous, but yeah, absolutely.
That's called serendipity.
Yeah, serendipity. Stop it. And and I found my voice. I was able to focus on this full time. I had the fortune of having a gallery that I've had now for 20 years find me for one of those gifts and track me down, and the rest is history, as they say. But yeah, like finding your voice, getting back to what you guys, kind of dovetailing on that. As an artist, that's what you want. You want to be unique. You want to have your own place in history. You want to have your own place in your genre. And once you find that, then you keep pushing and refining, and that's kind of our jobs, or our goals.
Okay, but let's be honest. Without Sherry, you'd be
Yeah.
huddled.
Yeah,
yes.
the real answer to that question earlier is, why do I paint? I'm like, because she tells me to, she's super expensive. Have you met her? Where is she? Holy crap. Yeah.
Oh, she's awesome.
I need things, Ray. I'm like, okay, I'll get it. No, yeah. And that is truth, man. Seriously. I would not be here if it was not for my wife. She enables me to like kind of work all the time, and which is my happy place. I'm one of those guys who gets in the morning, I'm in my studio for 13, 14 hours. She slides in, coffee, little food, forces me to go for a walk. Yeah, I'm a creature of habit to the extreme. So yeah, thank God for her.
Yeah, she is wonderful. You used a word that really does, for me, capture the feeling of your work, which is vastness.
Yeah.
And within that vastness of your canvas, there's also this kind of a quiet power of
Oh
the
yeah.
figures in your pieces.
Yeah, so my house on Dresslerville Road, right across the street was the Dresslerville Indian colony. It's not actually a reservation, but it's part of the reservation system. There's about 300 families that still live on there today. And as a kid, I was lucky enough to have basically all my childhood friends to this day are Native American. They're either Paiute and or Washoe Indian. Both of them have lived there. And there's something about, for me, I've just been obsessed with like the mysticism, the culture, the vibrancy, the power, the apex of their civilization. And a civilization it wasn't these individual tribes that warred and did this thing. They had a civilization, they traded, they had commerce, they had shared language, long before the Western expansion. And yeah, again, I was super fortunate to be in that creative vortex and to have all those influences. And that is what I love. And you guys can speak to this, but I know artists that are super successful and they hate what they do. They do. And them, everyone knows them. In fact, there's an artist, of course, he will rename, I'm not going to say a name, but he calls what he paints GDIs, which means another blank blank Indian. And when I heard that, I was instantly, and he's a Lakota. And then I was just like, well, then why do you do that? And he's like, oh, well, because it sells. And it's, money is an important part of the equation. We need to pay the rent, but that's not why I paint. I know that's not why Shannon paints. I know that's not why Jerry paints. Nobody I know does that. It's like money is important, but you paint what you love, and then you find your audience, and you change instead of this is what I do, this is what I'm relegated to do, and I'm mad about it. It's just so odd, right? And that does not come off. One of the things that so Shannon and I and we will be soon, but Shannon and I are in a handful of homes. I just installed the house at Collectors, and they have your electric cowboy, which is just like, and one thing every one of my collectors says is like, your paintings are as crazy as you are. When they meet me, I'm like, sorry, you still want it? And they're vibrant. They have a personality, they have an energy, and Shannon does that too. I went into a house, and right when I walked into the house, I was like, ooh, and the electric cowboy was right in front. And I was just like, it was just like, yeah. And it just set the tone. It was like, oh yeah, this, this is a done deal at that point. Cause like, if you have that ability to have that bold artwork in your house, then I'm going to be in good company. So yeah, anyway, sorry about the long-winded, but yeah, anyway.
Well, I think it's absolutely important to do what brings you joy. And if it brings you joy, you'll find the people who also share that.
You know what would bring me joy right now? A beer.
A
For
Coors
the love
Light,
of God.
Coors Light for Joe.
For the love of God, can I get a beer?
Oh, okay.
Jake.
I'll buy.
Jesus,
Is
thank
that
you.
3
Thanks,
Coors
man.
Lights?
Yeah,
Okay.
3, please.
Renegades. Okay.
Hey,
But-
everyone give it up for Jake.
Yeah.
Beer man.
My favorite model.
Yeah. Jake, bring him on up here. It's
Yeah.
5 o'clock somewhere, and maybe we'll show his portrait too. So I'm going to throw in there that yesterday and last evening, some of us had the privilege of getting a tour at the Western Spirit Museum of the West in Old Town Scottsdale. Ching. Oh, Jake wouldn't bring him up. Dang. Ching. Thank you, Kim, the beautiful Kim. No, that's right.
Come on. Here, one more. Yeah, we're all drinking now. Come on.
Okay.
Are we allowed to drink on camera?
Yeah, absolutely.
Miss St. Patrick's Day.
I feel like a cowgirl. Little Coors Light commercial. So we had the privilege of getting a guided tour of the museum. Western Spirit Museum of the West. I always say it's a lot of words, but it's a beautiful place. Thank you, Kim. And couple of things were going on there. They have a exhibit called Fistful of Colors, and they've curated a collection and divided it into color palettes, and have questions to inspire you to think, what does this red make you feel? Red's meant to be fiery or passion or danger. And I forget the artist. Love. I know the artist, but I can't say his name right now, who painted this all red Native American.
It was Riley.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
It was an amazing piece.
Yes. You're so good. You know your stuff. And then they had some alabaster sculpture by Tony Abeta, and they had a color light that would change colors, and you would see the alabaster change. And they do a lot of, student tours, and they would ask the kids, how do you feel when this happens? And, complementary colors. I didn't bring it, but they actually had these really fun little color wheels and talked about tertiary and complementary and opposite colors. And it was a really great experience, and I encourage you to all go there. It's on the second floor. And we were joined on this tour by John Coleman, who's arguably one of the most well-known Western artists of today, painter, sculptor.
Almost as good a sculptor as Todd Paxton.
Yeah,
Almost.
yeah. And John is such a kind man. He's
We love him.
he calls himself a 49er. He's 75 years old, and his work is everywhere. Any major Western museum. He started his career at the Celebration of Fine Art in early 90s. And one of the pieces so there's a dedicated studio gallery space. He has a collector who, I can't remember how many years ago, but it's been decades. 93, Howie. Oh, hi, didn't see you there. Yeah. And we got to meet the new curator, Andrew. He's fabulous.
Where's Andrew at?
He'll be here.
Is he, okay.
He's been invited. But Howie Alperts has bought #1 of every single John Coleman sculpture. He and his wife flew out from Chicago and went to see his work, fell in love with it, bought a piece, and on his way out the door, Howie turned around and said, "How about if we make a deal that I buy #1 of every sculpture you make?" And John's like, "Okay." Handshake. And I did ask John, like, different size pieces, does he buy all sizes? And he said he has the first right to refusal. He can buy the maquette size, he can buy, the monument size if he wants, but John's a very generous and gracious man. And he at one point did a historical representation of all the Bodner paintings of early Americans. And when we're talking at a different talk about history has been recorded through art. And that's how the Easterners had no idea what was going on in the West. And Bodner was, like, as somebody said, kind of like a botanist who would go do flowers. So he did amazing watercolors of all these different chiefs that he would meet. And John had the privilege of sculpting in 3D a representation of each of those. And it was interesting. He noted that they were a lot more detail, because John's a little bit more loose, generally speaking. He said he's not proud of his early work, by the way, but everybody else told him it was good. But the truth is, we all evolve. We all iterate and evolve. But he is one who loves what he does. He would never say that phrase, but he just, he talks about, he's captured the past. He can romanticize things. He doesn't have to be completely accurate, and he's cheering on, the next generation of artists. So
Yeah, he was here about 3 weeks ago, and he came. He was walking around with Anton Knowles, and he came to my booth later after he left them, and gave me some words of wisdom, and told me to stop working on that painting of the Hopi girl. He said it was done, so I stopped.
If John Coleman tells you something, you should listen. And he's very wise about business as well. He started off as an entrepreneur business person in real estate. And like you, though, he drew and he painted when he was a younger child and then dove into it. And he's got a beautiful wife that has been by his side for 56 years, I think. So yeah, it's just great. It's so joyful to have artists come through this place and share and be part of it, and the community that really wants to continue to support this. But I just thought I would throw that in there. So a plug for the museum and the color project, which I thought was very interesting, and
It was.
everything else.
And I like they were cool, A Fistful of Color. And they used the same font that was in A Fistful of Dollars from Clint Eastwood.
And then the movie posters, talk about that.
Yeah.
Do you remember?
Yeah, I do. But I don't care. Let's just be honest. You know, if the Clint Eastwood's not on it. No, you know, it is interesting, right? Let's dive into this, right? It's color, right? So you know, and he has a wonderful breadth of paintings in there since, you know, John Coleman. And that is, and it's not to take anything away from traditional art, because I love traditional artists and they do what they do so well. But I do think you can have these pieces in your collection that are different and can push things. And John's collection, if you were to walk around there, kind of all has a little bit of that same kind of feel, color palette vibe, which is consistent. And that's how you build a collector base, right? You get
But
that.
you can tell he loves
Yes.
viewing and collecting work like yours.
Yeah, yeah. And I love that too, and then you have like, you know, look at the colors like behind like Salinas. Look at those colors, man, right? Like you can take what has been collected heavily, the vibe, the colors, the browns, the grays, those really awesome earth tones, and then you can push it into a category that, you know, like you can have people that have a Colin or a Robin or a Beverly, and then they can have Shannon's piece, and then they can have another piece of art that, you know, and then you could have a peace pipe, then you could have a Navajo rug, and I think that's the strength of kind of what we do that I've found is like, you know, our work can be found in homes that you would never think would have, you know, like Native American work. Like, yeah, sometimes it's shocking. Like I go in a house and I'm like, whoa, I mean, like white, clean. I'm usually not allowed in homes like that. I'm like, should I like take off my clothes? Should I like, do I need like a havoc suit in here? You know, they're like,
Yeah. Has that.
they're like, well, you can send your woman in. I'm like, Sherry, go hang this. Yeah, you know, and then you put a piece in there that's just like, that just takes that white palette or those gray putty tones and then pushes it. And then, you know, over here you might have, you know, a very Remington a sculpture. And I love that because it's in the same field, the same genre, but yet you push it into the New West, right?
Yeah, the New West, and the joy of expressing the personality of the collector as well.
Absolutely.
And we're talking a lot about colors and stuff, but the composition is also amazing. And the best artwork is artwork that you don't look at and say, oh, the composition's very good. And look at the color palettes. And like, he's chosen complementary purple and green. And you just see it and you love it. But right.
Those collectors we call artists when they come into our booth. Yeah.
But
which I love to talk to them.
But like you said, they're master of the craft, and then you're starting to have fun with it. So,
yeah, good point on composition, right? So I have a degree in design, and I think it's kind of omnipresent in my work. And if someone were to ask me what the single most important elements of my paintings are outside of the subject, I would say composition, right? Tonality, hierarchy. If you look at my pieces, you know, everything is thought out. I like positive and negative space. I like doing things like punching, you know, having like a relief here, kind of something kind of moody and dark. and then you've got a little bit of a light, and then you've got something even a different tone, ooh, kind of shading back in there. Juxtaposition, bright, dark. I like that. And one of the things I love to do that people are like, don't ever put the subject in the middle of your paintings. I'm like, have you walk in my booth? I love putting them right there. Like, yeah. And I do not lack for people who love my work, which is awesome. And yeah, it's like, why not? Like, be yourself, right? Like do things that people say you can't do. And I use a palette knife, and people are like, "Oh, we had a palette knife painting that we bought in Paris, and it's really amazing." And just like, but it's not like your palette knife. And here's, I mean, do you use brush? It's like it's so funny how people get in the nuance. I'm like, doesn't matter. I mean, do you love it? Does it feel like you just want to take it home and just yeah. Anyway, yeah.
And so Shannon has brushes in her hat. We need to maybe, by the way, this is sort of a
It's
very
weird. Weird, huh?
unusual moment. He never, ever not.
Good.
It's-
Handsome Ray.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I like this little thing here. Yeah,
But we could put a palette knife like right.
that'd be cool.
Yeah.
Well, everyone always says that, like, oh, so you always wear a hat. And I'm like, no, it's always like, cold in here. Sorry. It's like
You have a nice head.
thanks, brother.
Yeah.
Appreciate
Yeah,
that, man.
Looking
Yeah,
good
yeah.
there.
My wife said that. She's like, I like bald dudes that look like they repossess cars. And I was like, dude, I'm your guy.
You're like, I'm your guy. Sign me up. So, Miss Sparkly Boots, your hat is a work of art, by the way.
Thank you. Landon Mondragon of Lost River Hats. He's amazing. He's right in Phoenix, and he's built 2 of these for me. This one is rabbit felt. Those are my brushes. He came to my studio and he custom fit my head,
Which is very tiny.
which turns out he
Let's,
needed to order a custom
Let's
mold.
unpack that story, shall we?
Yeah, we went to the child section. I don't know why, Mom. So he came and he saw all my brushes in the buckets that are around my studio, and he just strolled up, very nonchalant, reached in, grabbed some out, looked at them, and he looked at me and he said, "I'll take care of this." And this is the hat. Isn't it something else?
Yeah, it's awesome.
And so he made it with one side up and one side down, so you don't know if I'm winking at you or if I've got my eyebrow raised. So we were talking about historical reference to Western art and Remingtons and all of the things that depict another time in history. I think that I'm painting the timeline I was born into. Those were the Cadillacs of my time. These are the signs of my time. The 70s wasn't a period where I was an adult. It was a period that I remember my parents having the best time of their life. And my parents were car collectors. They had horses in the backyard, a barn, owned a country bar. I mean, we were having a good time. I didn't realize it. But when I grew up, I wanted to recreate what that was that I had experienced back in those times. So you're going to see all the elements of that life in my paintings now. So in a way, I am painting history, but a very current one.
I love that. That's great. And thank you.
Yeah.
Who doesn't remember driving across I-40 maybe, or anywhere, stopping at the roadside motel?
Who still has their Stuckey's belt? Y'all remember your Stuckey's belt?
Yeah,
All
Stuckey's.
right.
Yeah.
Good.
The best truck stops ever.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, we always had to pack a sandwich though, because we never knew if there was no fast food. So I want to hear more from you, but I also, Jerry, something happened to you a couple of weeks ago, or whatever, the days are running together.
What?
Someone came to see you with a very precious gift.
Yeah. I was painting and it was pretty busy, and there's been people walking around with spurs on. And I turned around and I look at this lady. I said, "Do you have spurs on?" She goes, "No, it's my jewelry." She had the turquoise native jewelry. She had a turquoise piece that was about this big around her neck and around her wrist. I wonder if she's here. But she looks over my shoulder and looks at my work. And she goes, "Oh, you're the one." I go, "I'm the one." And she said, "The one to get this book." And the book was photographs taken by her uncle in the 30s of Native American people throughout the Southwest. And he's a lawyer in California. I've what's the young jeweler with the long hair? He has Chad. He has the information on him of the guy who took the photo. I'll have to get it from him. But I open it up and I'm like, wait, do you know what I want this book for? I want to make paintings out of it and sell them. I mean, I want to be clear with her. If you give me this, she goes, that's exactly what I want you to do. And I go, but just get them out there. And I'm like, wow, they're amazing, you know? And so I asked her, you know, what can I do for you? Want to take this painting with you? You could take this one if you want. She goes, no, I always like this one photo in here. If you could paint that, then I'll take that. You could have the album. And I said, yeah, that's great. And so we agreed upon that. But I did the painting. If you go into my space, I have it done. And I did send it to her this morning and she loves it. And she goes, I think we could do some more work together, which is nice. And but the photographs are just blows my mind, you know. And some of them are just straight paintings. You just paint from them and be creative, or you could put them together. And you know, I called my wife up and I said, can you just come and get this? I don't want this here. I'm uncomfortable with having this here, you know, because I thought the dream was going to end. She was going to come and take it and said, no, I'm going to give it to Ray. Let me give it to Ray instead. Or
If you're looking for photorealism, you
Yeah.
come to me, bro. Yeah.
Oh,
I'll do
I don't
it
know.
just like this. Yeah. No, that's
we all get inspired.
I've seen that painting. It's can I say badass? Can I say that?
Thank you.
Yeah, it's badass.
And it was a new style for me. It kind of mimics some of the art in her collection. A guy named Cockram. She likes more conceptual, colorful work, Native American work. And so I pushed it a little bit more with that. And I think that's something new I'm going to do. I think I want to try start doing that because that's what this show's been about. It's not just about sales. It's a big part of it, yes, but it's about developing your art, your creativity. And for me, it's really grown. You know, if I really walk away from anything, it's like I'm on five. Like people are saying, what are you gonna do after this? You gonna take a vacation? I'm like, no, I'm gonna stand in front of that easel and just keep painting, just keep the momentum going. You know, and that book's gonna help the photo album. You know,
That's awesome.
What a
Thanks.
gift, yeah. So Shannon, I think there's more in your story that we should hear about, but
Crabbing,
I
Alaska.
love this, your recent history, wanting to recapture and share that upbringing and your joy for that era.
Can I ask you a question, Shannon? So greyhounds, dogs, and then what happened? Like it's like some door unlocked and sucked you into the creative vortex. Cause yeah, I mean, Shannon's work, I would imagine if you look at Shannon's Instagram, right? Go on Shannon's Instagram and kind of, I don't know, whatever, 5-6 years ago, and then see what she's doing now is remarkable. It's remarkable. That electric cowboy is what that thing was just amazing. My God. Yeah.
Thank you, Ray.
But yeah, like what happened?
What happened when I'm going to tell a really funny story, just an aside, because of how Ray delivered, how he walked in the house and saw the electric cowboy and was like, oh, this one's going to be easy. I'm going to call his bluff on this one. Because I walked in and I saw his sculpture sitting on the table when I delivered an electric cowboy, and I knew it was going to be an easy sale.
Yes, you do sculpture as well.
Yes, I do.
It's beautiful horse sculptures. Please go check out Ray's sculptures after this. They are extraordinary. So they have already tapped into the creative element of what's happening in this tent. And it's so wonderful for us artists to get asked to come and do what we call a home show, where you bring a piece of your art that they're not quite sure if it's going to fit the space. They're not quite sure it's going to be the right color, but let us come in and we have a moment with the painting in the space. And that's what happened here. I brought Electric Cowboy in and saw Ray's sculpture on the thing, and I saw Heidi Rosner's piece above the kitchen. And when we get to walk into these homes and see our friends from the tent inside the houses, we love you guys. We love that you collect us like that. It's an absolute honor to be a part of the tribe in in your home and to be there as a sentinel watching over the memories that are being made, just a little piece of what we're doing, because we know that's what's being left behind. It's really an honor. Thank you all.
But no, but like what, I'm gonna keep,
Okay, back
gonna
to
keep- yeah,
Greyhound,
I wanna- I
back
wanna-
to
I wanna know.
Greyhound.
like.
He's like a
what
little
happened.
badger.
So it
I am,
was like,
man.
can,
Cause
can
you
I-
morphed, you
can I
morphed.
peek my head out?
Yeah,
can I
peek your
peek-
little,
can I
little
peek?
badger, poke your head out.
I'm gonna make this little line drawing over here. And then I just started climbing out of that place that exists inside. We all have that place that exists inside of us. And I hope that we're all able to touch that place in our lifetimes. It's important to express who we really are. That's what's happening. That's what's happening now. Ray's watching it grow. He's watched it for 4 years now.
Yeah, I love that.
Season 2.
Yeah,
course.
because like Shannon, like as this show for me has had so many benchmarks, personally, professionally, and it makes you realize that you're here. If you've done this show for 5 years, you've spent a year here, right? It's like it's a crazy thought, and we spend.
Gosh, yeah, that's the math.
Yeah, you spend this becomes your family, but you have so many milestones and benchmarks. And I asked that question for Shannon because when I first met her, and forgive me or correct me if I'm being presumptuous, but like everyone comes here at a different place, and I could tell that Shannon was like in this state of early metamorphosis, transition, and I love that. And when you see an artist who is going through some personal struggles, as we all are, and then she, like Jerry was saying, like you absorb, you allow this place to transform you, you allow people to mold you, you take little things here and there, and I honestly can't think of another artist in this tent that has gone through a metamorphosis to the extent of Shannon Lee. It is absolute amazing, and it really is. Like, you went from, and forgive me, I'm not trying to be blunt, but just things that I really was like, oh, okay, yeah. Like nothing, it's just kind of okay. But there was elements in there that I'm like, like she could really there's something here. And then like year 2, I was like, oh, well. And then I don't know what's going on year 3, year 4, but it is like magical. And the theme of this thing is New West.
Thank you, Ray. Thank you.
No, it's true. And the theme of this show is New West, and like you're looking at it. I mean, like you're looking at it, and like, and listening to, Jerry talk about where he's going, I listen to him and he's like, I'm absorbing, I'm taking this, I'm trying different things. I love that because so many people you meet are like, this is what I'm doing. And this is, and I don't need information. I don't need advice. I don't need critiques. This is what I'm doing, and I'm just going to do it. And, those people are they kind of go by the wayside. I always find, yeah. And the people that are like sponges,
Right.
and they just absorb and they tweak and they push. And, something that I get from my collectors, I know Shannon has got from hers, you've got from yours, every artist here, right, is like, people, in fact, there was a gentleman who was in my booth earlier, and he's like, whoa, I remember I bought a piece from you year 1. Oddly enough, I remember it because he was just a cool dude. And he's like, man, you've really like, whoa, you've really changed. And I'm like, and I saw his piece and I'm like, I have, but, I didn't go from doing like, dogs playing poker to, dude on horse. But I was like, yeah. And I love that. And like, that's what we do, right? You know what I mean? Right, Chad? Isn't that what we do, brother? You keep pushing it. That's the man we were talking about earlier.
We love
Yeah,
Chad.
Chad's good. Oh, by the way, you can buy
Chad.
one of these in his booth.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, the middle finger. Yeah. That almost got super awkward. Yeah. Yeah.
Man.
Yeah. Actually, my buddy Craig.
Yeah, Craig.
Yeah, we went. We actually, Craig and I are engaged. We bought rings today. Love you, brother. Yeah, man. But no. Yeah. So I just want that.
Thank you, Ray.
Yeah, man.
That's really,
it's amazing.
what makes me warm and fuzzy about that is not only the supreme compliment of it, but that you even noticed. Thank you.
Oh, come on.
Thank
man.
you. That is so,
No.
that's brilliant. When you look at this art behind us and you see the development and what we're painting, you see that we work on different operating systems.
Very well put.
Okay, right. And all of us do, every single one of us here. And if any of you are wanting to continue to stretch in your own artistic ability, remember that it's your own operating system. We don't have to paint like each other. We only have to paint like us.
So perfectly said. And that's why we love what you do. Yeah. That's what we were looking for. I'd love to, I'm sure there's questions I should have asked or we should have talked about. These are the most generous people. This guy.
Yes.
Love you.
That's right.
Does anyone have any questions they would like to ask? Burning. Okay. Audio man, can you hand the microphone?
Oh yeah. Where am I at? Oh yeah.
I'm loud and noisy, so I don't think I'll need it.
I like you. Yeah.
I'm also a senior citizen, which you may not believe. But my interest in Indian art goes back to as a kid, looking at pictures by Remington and so on. I thought they were pretty cool. And then there was a period where I didn't pay much attention. And then right after World War II, when Harrison Begay, who you may remember was a Navajo code talker, began painting realistic Navajo people. They were very stylized. They were all like this. They had a unicolor background, but they had beautiful lines to them. And then he developed a series of paintings where he took one person and took them diagonally from the bottom all the way up. Each one is probably an eighth, and each one is so beautifully portrayed as it goes up. There's no background. Well, there are a few little things, but there's no perspective. It's not, technically you'd say, well, you know, that's a good painting. But Harrison was a genius, I thought, and he gave rise to people like Gorman. And I was fortunate to see a store that had probably 30 Gormans going back to when he was in high school, and just kind of line drawings. But you could see the evolution of the lines that led up to the Indian mothers with their children. And his art became mainly lines. That's what it was as it developed. And then there was another lady by the name of Delona Roberts who mastered the painting of a figure in an Indian blanket. And she used to go to a lot of the traditional dances. And at all of these, the women all line up along one wall, watch the whole ceremony. If you see them from the back, you see every pattern known in the Navajo repertory in beautiful colors. And the scene is just unbelievable. And Delona was able to capture it. And I consider that a major increase. And then
well, and what you said, right? You're talking about a moment where art is kind of not stagnant, but like predictable. And then you have something happens, either influences or, whether it's history, time, and then all of a sudden you have this birth of these new ideas, right?
absolutely.
Yeah. And that, again, the kind of, the idea, right, is to, and again, I love traditional, even the traditional stuff now is not the same, right?
Oh, no.
No, you should come up here. Come on. pull up
You
a chair.
stole all my thunder. didn't
I know, man. I know. So I was like, you know what? This guy and I, we were going to go out and do some drinking with this guy right here, man.
because there was another guy,
Yeah.
Frank Howells, who did beautiful lithos, and he was supposedly part. And I'm blocking on the name of the tribe, but anyway, all of his paintings take you into mythology, and one of his most famous is one called Reunion, and there's a Navajo. He wasn't Navajo, he was one of the Plains Indians. But anyway, their tradition was that a hummingbird is the spirit of your friend coming back to say hello. And Reunion is a picture of this just plain guy with a chambray shirt and embroidered hummingbirds. And he's surrounded by 26 of the most beautifully executed hummingbirds you've ever seen. Well, he knew he was dying of a brain tumor at that time. And this was his representation of his previous life, all of his friends coming to say goodbye. And I'll shut up in a minute, but the other thing that blew
This
me
is good.
away,
This is good. You keep going.
the thing that blew me away was the second one from the left that I've seen. I don't know how many pictures of Indian, or I shouldn't say that, I'm sorry, Native American women, and going back all the way to the photographs and everything else. But many of them are portrayed as having no fun. They don't enjoy life. Even when they're carrying a little lamb, it's usually a blank face. They don't get any joy out of it whatsoever. And this painting, to me, I had not seen till the moment I came here. That just blew me away, both in its execution and the look on her face. I feel that I could talk to her right now, and she'd be a hell of a lot smarter than I was, and she would go a lot further in life than I was. And this added dimension to the Native American personalities and their physical attractiveness and so on is a whole new chapter to me.
It is. It is. I love what you hit on. and
I'll shut
Oh,
up.
yeah.
soon.
What is your name, brother? What is your name? John. John, thanks, man. No, that's a good point too. Something, and you all chime in. My subject is predominantly Native American. Although, where's Ned? Is Ned here? Ned, I did paint you a polar bear, bro. Yeah, man, I gifted him a polar bear today because he was such a good sport. That's a whole other story, but no, again, it's so like Edward Curtis, he was, basically hired by our government to document the decline of the Native American people. So a lot of what we see visually, a lot of the things that are represented in art have a root in a lot of that photography. And it was not a period of, joy. You were literally kind of saying, well, we've kind of forced you into the agencies. We've taken away your ability to feed yourself by decimating the buffalo. So we're going to go ahead and document you. And then, those images, those downtrodden, those long faces, those just, you just feel the angst. And I think a lot of people during that time wanted to feel that. They wanted a true representation of what Native Americans were. I grew up with Native Americans. I went to school with them. I would say the majority of them are all my childhood friends. My best friend is Lakota, or one of them, and they're not like that. And that is not a true depiction, in my opinion, of what their lives are, right? And I never want to do that. I never personally want to ever depict any of my subjects sad. I want them to be like powerful. I want them to vibrate. I want them to bring energy to a space. I don't want them to look downtrodden. I want people to come in and go like, ooh, you know what? I was having a bad day. And I looked at Ray Tigerman and I was like, wow. Not look at me per se, but my art, but yeah, you know, and I mean, and that's, and she, again, you know, Jerry, Shannon, same thing too. Like when I'm looking at your subjects, they're not, they're serene, they're dignified, they're introspective, they're trying to tell a story, right? I mean, like, and I love that. And talk about telling a story. Okay, motel, hot chick with a gun. What? Let's talk about that story. Yeah.
She is
There's
blonde.
about to be vacancy.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right. There you are. Yeah. Anyway. Yeah. Good point. Yeah. Thanks, John. Thanks for sharing, brother.
Oh, thank you. We are past our time, I think.
You know what? Let's start a trend. Do
Yeah.
you want to keep this going for a little bit? Yeah. Okay. Come on. Come on. We got another minute.
Who's got
Let's start on the
any
question.
other questions or
Yeah. Questions. Anyone?
expressions of anyone?
Come on. Someone's got a question they're dying to tell. No.
She does. I can see it.
I went.
Take the
Oh,
microphone.
yes. Yes.
Oh.
We like
We
commentary.
welcome commentary.
Another senior here. I'm looking at the wall there. At first blush, none of it is anything that I would put in my personal home because of the decor and the taste that I have. But I love the tapestry of what you have here and the representation of the dignity of the Native Americans, the bullseye, see me. I love the graphic, full blown out of the comic book, but it's with history and it's with the nuances of all the horses under the hood and the cattle drive up the Longhorns. It went up and down the plains and the backdrop of the Southwest. Gotta love the woman. But this over here, while I don't go with these wild, bright colors, they're needed here. Because in the center of each of those, we were here first. We are the beginning of the history within this country as we now know it, learn it, and see it and feel it. Yeah, with interrupters over here, but we're here, right? And we're represented too. But this is mystical to me, and the colors, that while they are not something I would put in my home because of my personal taste, they are very valid. The white feathering is like a star. It's mystical behind the Native American. You see it everywhere. The horse and nature, they see things and feel things that are not expressed by human beings. The fire, the ice, the shifting of the winds and the dust storms and the blood that has been shed and the life that has been lived. And it started there first. And it is at the heart of this country when we all came here. So all of this is our history. All of this is who we are. All of this represents us from different aspects. That Native American woman, when I think of women in this country and I look to her, she's a shining example. And we can do better than we do. And we have to see each other and we have to appreciate all the myriad of colors. So that's what I see. And I love what you put together on the wall. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are you a writer? Well, you're a very good observer.
Yeah. Well,
Thank you for sharing that.
you know, and that's sorry, but the strength of the show, which I love, right, is you have things that you appreciate that move you, and then yet you have other pieces that do the same thing that are more your style. And I love that. And it allows us, the show, to kind of tell our own stories with our own voices. But I appreciate what you said about our work. Thank you very much.
That's awesome. As always, another great Friday experience. We love our art discovery, and thank you, Jerry. Thank you, Shannon. Thank you, Ray.
Yeah, thank you all.
Just a couple of reminders. We have the silent auction, I believe, starting now because it looks like bid sheets are up.
Yeah, please
Tomorrow
do.
night, we have Art After Dark. We'll be open till 8, and there'll be wonderful food stations around the tent and lots of joy and celebration.
And we have a fiddle player.
And we have a fiddle player, and we have 9 magical days left in the 2025 celebration of fine art. So thank you so much.
Hi, Jay.
Thank you for coming. Thanks, everybody. Yay.